In this texting course, I'm going to give you the exact blueprint one of my clients used to get 8 dates in a single week and build a rotation of 3 gorgeous girls. This is no exaggeration. My client Giannis, a management consultant in a big city, attributed 100% of his success to the same texting blueprint I'm about to share with you today. No fluff, no theory. You're going to see real copy-paste messages you can steal for yourself and real examples of the openers in action, showing you how to go from first message to first date. Texting is the most important dating skill. You can have 10 out of 10 approach skills or 10 out of 10 dating profiles, but if you can't follow up over text properly and convert those interactions into dates, you're screwed. Every time you send a girl a text, she's testing you, and your text serves as the audition. If you send a text that doesn't pass the audition, then you've lost your opportunity. So here's exactly how to make sure that never happens.
Now, getting into the strategy here, the purpose of texting is just to set up dates. That's it. There's no need to get cute, get fancy, none of that. Only use small talk or veer off the path of getting her out on a date when you get hesitation. For example, let's say you're on a dating app with a girl, you ask her out on a date. You'll see some examples here in the breakdowns that I'm about to show you. You ask her out on a date and she seems hesitant. She seems like I don't really know you yet. Let's talk more and get to know each other. Then that's fine. You should talk more, make some small talk, and veer off the path to get her out on a date, because the small talk is the path to getting her out on the date. Really, the strategy is simple. We want to open the girl with a solid opener. I'm about to share with you the best openers here. You want to pitch the date idea, and then you want to close and get her phone number and Instagram to get her off the app as fast as possible. Very, very simple. Again, don't overcomplicate this. So let's go through some of the best openers. So the best openers, ironically, are going to be commentary profile openers, and these are going to be openers you use on apps like Hinge and Bumble. And we'll go through quite a few examples of this. There's another example of an opener that you can use on dating app, which is, hope you're ready for our first date. We'll get into the examples and how that works. And the third one is, so this means we're dating now, right? You'll see examples of all of these now. I'll save the explanations for the examples and let's just jump right to it. So the commentary profile opener is actually a really, really good one. Basically, it's when you make a comment. Apps like Hinge and Bumble and some of the other dating apps allow you to make a comment on a girl's profile. The benefit of doing it like this is that it feels more organic. It feels more natural. It doesn't feel like you're trying too hard. And we get her talking about something that she's obviously interested in. So we're going to increase the reply rate. So we always want to think about what we're saying and think about how we're opening a conversation, because that's going to set the path forward for how the conversation is going to go. So if we're starting it on something she's interested in or feel strongly about, not only one, does it give us good ammunition to start the conversation with, but we know that it's something she cares about and she's interested in. So we're more likely to get a response, which is what we want in the opening message. So she says in her profile, she had a prompt that said, I bet you can't get me to go out on a date with you. And I reply, I say, how much you want to bet? She matches me back, but she never replies. Now, this is something that's going to happen on lots of dating apps like Hinge or Bumble or whatever it may be. You may open a girl and she doesn't reply, but she matches you back. So that's fine. I'm not going to take it personal. I'm just going to follow up. She obviously matched me back, so there's interest. Maybe she just matched me and forgot to respond. So I send 2 follow-up messages. I don't remember. I'm covering something here. I'm not sure what it said. I think it was, I must have said something about her personal information on her profile. So I go here and I say, I happen to know a very handsome bodyguard, which is another reference to a prompt in her bio. In her bio, it said, I am looking for a bodyguard. So I make a joke and I say, I happen to know a very handsome bodyguard, ... She says, oh, really? Can you introduce us? And you notice there's quite a long gap in between her responding, but she did end up responding. So I say, yes, of course, I'll introduce you on our first date. So notice what I did here. What I did here is very important. I'm already bringing in the idea of a first date immediately, very early on into the conversation. Message number 3. Why am I doing this? Because my goal is to get her on a date. There's no reason to dilly-dally or beat around the bush. I'm going to figure out how I can insert the idea of a first date into the conversation as smoothly and naturally as possible. And as soon as I say that, I also follow up by saying, when are you free? And immediately you'll notice I didn't need a magical opening line. I didn't need anything crazy. I just had to be normal, have a little bit of social awareness and a high social IQ, make a few funny comments about her profile, and then tie it into the idea of a date, and boom, look, she's already agreeing by her second message reply to me. She's already telling me when she's free and we're scheduling a date. I say, yeah, let's do it. What's your number? I'll text you and we'll set it up. That's it. Like, I wish this was more complicated, but the fact that so many guys complicate dating is a testament to how little they actually understand and how broken their mentality around it is. If you have a solid profile, you have solid photos, which is very important for dating apps and we'll cover later, you don't really need to do much in your text conversations. You just have to have a focused conversation, show some interest, build some value, and then float the idea of a first date. If a girl isn't going to respond to you, or if a girl is not really going to go well to the idea of a first date, she's probably a time waster anyways, in which case you don't want to waste your time in conversation with her, and she'll just not reply, and you'll filter out the girls who are going to waste your time and text you back and forth but never go on a date. So here's another example. In her profile, this girl said, I bet you can't surf better than me. I happen to surf, and I have a photo of me surfing on my profile. So I said, I objectively can. And she says, I only believe what I see. So you'll notice we already have a back and forth playful dynamic. We're creating some stakes here. So I say, might have to wait till the summer to see my surf skills. This conversation was in February. So I say, might have to wait till the summer to see my surf skills. It's winter here in New York, so it wouldn't make sense to surf in the middle of the winter. I say, I think going for dinner or drinks in the meantime is a decent second option. So again, by my second message, I'm already hinting at the idea of a date, and she was already doing the same things, which shows she's high interest, because she says, I only believe what I see. So she's already hinting at the idea that we should surf sometime or we should get together sometime. She says, haha, yes, let's do that. Are you free tomorrow or Wednesday night? Not tomorrow, but on Wednesday I might be free. Sounds good. What's your number? I'll text you. That's it. No long-winded bullshit conversations going to nowhere. No trying to be super witty. No needing to be Mr. Charismatic, extrovert, personality, James Bond, smooth. That's literally it. That's how most of my conversations go. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a successful guy who makes a lot of money, who's doing well for yourself, this is what your conversation should look like. You don't have time to be going back and forth in tons and tons of text conversations with girls in a texting tennis match, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for weeks just to get flaked on or to not end up on a date. The goal is to get a date. That is the only metric that matters. Beating around the bush, doing things in a way that's not going to result in a date is a waste of your time. So you want a texting strategy and a blueprint that's going to be congruent with that. Now, obviously, coming up with commentary profiles is something you need to practice. And obviously, I've been doing this for quite a while. So I know exactly which prompts to respond to, how to respond to them so that I can get and elicit a good reaction. Here's another example here. So a girl, it's funny that all of these girls have, that I've responded to, have the I bet you can't prompt in their bio. It's just such an easy one to get. And you'll notice every time I see it on a profile, I just go after it because I know it builds a back and forth, a playful dynamic where there's some stakes involved. They're like, I bet you can't do this. And I'm like, I bet I can, right? So I already create a fun, playful dynamic and I entice her a reason to respond. So there's a lot of subtle psychology going there that I won't get into just because I want to keep this brief and short and I want to make sure this is as value driven as possible. But there's a lot more going on under the surface that I'm breaking down here, but I'm being short because again, I want to keep this valuable and make sure that you guys can understand the high level. I don't want to overwhelm you with information. So I bet you can't pronounce my name. She had a specific Irish name that I actually did know how to pronounce because I had dated a girl prior who had the same name as her. So I said, how much you want to bet I pronounce your name flawlessly on our first date? So from the first message, I'm already bringing up the idea of a first date. Again, it really can be that simple. So she says, what are you going to Google it? I say, you're Irish, right? It's a super common Irish name. Is it a red flag to say I dated a girl with your name before? So you notice she gave like a little bit of pushback and resistance. She's just being playful, but she didn't really say, oh, that sounds good. So I'm not going to push for the date again yet. I'm going to use my social awareness and my social IQ to read between the lines. Okay, she hasn't really given me a ton of compliance or buy into a date yet. She's just focusing on the name part. So let me double down on that and make some fun conversation there. Says, there's no way. I say, yes way. I'll prove it to you on our first date. So I'm bringing it back around. I got her to reply again. Now that she's like, oh my God, haha, she's showing a little bit more compliance. I say, yes, I'll prove it to you on our first date. So again, I'm bringing up the conversation. Again, if I need to veer off the path, it's just to make a little bit of small talk, but we go right back, just like the strategy outlined. I say, just tell me when you're free and I'll tell you the time and place. So again, I'm taking leadership here and making it so that the girls just need to tell me when they're free and then I'm going to take care of all the logistics. She says, I'm free next weekend. I have a very busy week / weekend coming up. I say, sounds good. Next weekend it is. What's your Instagram so we can keep in touch in the meantime? So she didn't reply to me. This took place on the 20th. A whole week later passed and she didn't reply to me. I'll go through my messages sometimes and I'll follow up with girls who didn't reply because it's like sales. If I can just get more sales and get more from the conversations I'm already having, I don't need to go out and get new matches. This is going to increase my conversion rate so I can get more dates with less matches and overall less work because there's already some investment there. She already knows who I am. We already have a history. It's an easier sell for the first date rather than going out and getting new girls. So again, there's a lot of subtleties here going on under the hood that I'm just going to save to keep this brief. So I follow up in a way that's very calibrated. She told me she was busy, so it's not uncommon for me to think, okay, she's busy, maybe she didn't see it. So I say, I hope you survived your week. She says, my best friend surprised me, so I'm still in recovery, which makes total sense as to why she didn't reply. She had someone come into town. I say, no worries, sounds like fun. What's your Instagram? I'll DM you. And then she gives it to me. I follow her and boom, we go on a date. Very, very simple. Again, it doesn't really need to get more difficult than this. Here's another example. A girl had a photo of her doing karate as a kid. So I actually trained. I have a black belt in Taekwondo and I have another black belt. So I respond to the message saying, I actually have 2 black belts. She says, I'm intrigued. I say, we can throw hands, meaning we can fight on our first date if you need proof. So again, just bring up the idea of a first date very quickly, or I could show you some pictures / videos from my Taekwondo days. Which do you prefer? All right. So again, I'm just being playful. I'm giving her some options here. She tells me she used to do karate. I say, karate was the first thing I ever did. Now I just box. What are you looking for? And I'm noticing that I'm getting short one-word or one message answers from her. I'm not really getting a lot of investment here. So for me to throw the idea of a date out again is very low probability, and it doesn't really make sense. So this is a point where making some small talk to get some more investment from her is going to be important. So I say, what are you looking for on here aside from a sparring partner? She didn't respond. And then a month later, she just replies and says, hi, starting a new conversation. So I'm assuming she deleted the app or she didn't see the message or whatever it may be. I say, hey, we never went on this date. Let's make it happen. And she says, down. So even though originally she wasn't really super invested, just the fact that I had the message there and what I just explained to you prior, she probably re-downloaded the app. She saw me in her matches. She saw our conversation. She was probably in a place where she was more down to go on dates. So she's like, all right, yeah, I'm just going to hit this guy up again rather than match with new people. I already talked to this guy a little. He seems kind of interesting. I'd rather just go on a date with him because there's already some investment there. So I capitalize on this, and I know this is probably what she's thinking. So at this point, there's no need to beat around the bush. She's not going to start another conversation with me if she's not actually down to meet up. So I read that because I have high social IQ and social awareness, which is what a lot of you guys watching this lack because you haven't really understood how conversations happen in a romantic context. And she says, down. I say, you're around tonight or sometime tomorrow. What's your number? I'll text you. She says, tonight I'm staying in. I'm exhausted, but I'll be around tomorrow. Very simple. I really wish this stuff was more difficult. And the funny thing is when a lot of clients come into my program, they often tell me that they're getting more dates and have more girls than ever while spending less time than ever because we simplify things to make it easier. When it comes to getting high level at any skill set, whether it's in business, whether it's in fucking martial arts, whether it's in dating, any skill set imaginable, mastery comes from subtraction, from removing all of the mistakes and the nonsense that you're doing. Because once you remove all of the things that you're doing incorrectly, all that's left is the right things, the things that matter that are going to get you results, which is why there's nothing flashy here. I'm not doing anything crazy. There's another example here. Honestly, I'm probably beating this to death. This was a girl where she liked me. So then I just replied, I said, our profiles are so compatible. It's kind of scary. I don't drink, so I don't really do drink states, which is true. I haven't drank in over a year and a half now. This is actually a very important combo here. So I tell her I don't drink, which is something she mentioned on her profile. And she said she was weirdly attracted to calves. And since I've done martial arts forever, I say my calves are huge. She says, I don't want babies, which is a reference to something in my profile. I say, you might change your mind after our first date. So again, I'm building that playful back and forth dynamic. I'm creating stakes. I'm creating a reason for us to put something to the test, so to speak. She says, love the confidence. I say, down to put our compatibility to the test. She says, I would love to. Are you free tomorrow night? We can find out then. She said, yeah, for sure. I'm free tomorrow night. Do you want to get appetizers or something? I say, yeah, let's do it. What's your number? I'll text you. Boom, done. Very, very easy. From match to date set up in what is that? 3:03 to 11. That's like 12 hours. Right? And it'll be like 24 or 48 hours until we ended up being on a date in front of each other. So again, you don't really need to complicate this, but something that's massively important is making sure that you have a solid profile, which we'll talk about in just a second, because you'll notice in a lot of these conversations, the girls are mentioning my profile. So another opener you can use is, so this means we're dating now, right? Which is very, very easy. I say, so this means we're dating now, right? She says, haha, all right, daddy, which is a reference to something in my profile. I say, when is our first date? She says, I'm back in the City Monday, so pick any day. I say, what's your Instagram? I'll DM you there and we can set something up for this week. She gives me her Instagram. Boom. Very, very simple. Again, guys, not rocket science here. Just having a solid profile and having a solid structure for how to message girls. So does this mean we're dating now? Yes, I think so. Very, very simple. This is another opener you can use. I'm not going to beat you to death with tons of examples. The commentary profile openers, I had more examples because it's a little bit more abstract. It's not like just an opener that you can use. You kind of have to improv a little bit, but it requires you to have an understanding, which is why I broke those down. Here's another one that you can steal is hope you're free for our first date. And then you put the time horizon, hope you're free for our first date this week or this weekend. She says, I might be. Where are you taking me? Very, very simple. Again, getting compliance early on because my profile. The real secret sauce here and the unspoken thing that is really something that you really need to understand from all of these is that you want to have a profile that makes girls open you. Because a fully optimized dating profile, for example, in this one, because of a prompt and a specific thing I put in my bio, this girl opened me with, where are we flying to on our first date? So she's already bringing up the idea of a date because I included it in my dating profile. I mentioned stuff and I give girls ammunition, so it's very easy for them to reach out to me first. A fully optimized profile is going to make girls text you first, which is very, very good because it's going to make them invested in you. It's going to make girls more likely to respond, even if your text game isn't 10 out of 10. So if your text game isn't very good right now, if you can't get dates basically on demand, just like I showed you in those examples, you really need a fully optimized profile because if your profile does a lot of the work for you, you can afford to make a few mistakes here and there with your text game because the girls are going to be attracted to your profile. A fully optimized profile is also going to increase the number of matches you get, which is going to skyrocket your options, allow you to be more picky and selective of who you want to go on dates with. You're approaching it from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, and it'll increase your conversion rate to dates. If you have a fully set up profile that's doing well, girls are going to be more likely and give you less resistance to going on dates because they're like, I know this guy, he seems interesting, I'll go for it. Whereas if your profile is on the fence, she's going to think, I don't really know. And it's just going to create all sorts of objections and resistance to the date in her mind. So again, it is very, very important. And a big aspect of why my text game is so simple is because I have a profile that allows me to simplify my texting very, very easily. This is very, very important and something that cannot be overstated. You'll notice, I'm sure if you guys tried to do this, most of you who don't have a great profile, you would run into issues because you don't have a profile that allows you to text like this because you need your profile and your text combos to match. Now, all of that being said, if you're struggling with your dating apps and you're struggling to have your profiles get you matches in the first place, which is typically the first problem that guys struggle with, because guys encounter two problems. I'm not getting any matches, it's because your profile and your photos suck. Or if they are getting matches, they can't turn those matches into dates because they don't understand texting. Now, what I just outlined here, if you actually internalize it, if you study it and you go and implement it correctly, is going to be enough to get you more results than 99.9% of guys. This is probably more impactful and will get you more results than most people's paid programs. However, if you are an older, higher value guy who's successful, if you make over 80, 90, 100K a year, and you understand the value of your time, you can just have me and my team do all of the work for you. Me and my team will not only build your profiles from scratch, we'll tell you how to get the photos, we'll build your photos for you. I will personally put your profile together. We will also give you all of our copy paste message sequences for turning those matches into dates like I outlined. We'll also show you how to build an Instagram profile, and we'll show you how to approach and attract women in person if that's something that you'd like. We also implemented the same exact system with Josh, who is an IT professional. Within his first few weeks of joining, we got him on over 3 dates and 40 plus matches on his dating apps. His text game, which is a big aspect of what we work on inside of the program and we coach you through, got to a point where he didn't even need our help anymore. Josh went on to say his understanding of women has improved and his sense of self-worth grew a ton, and he was even able to go out and cold approach way more often. If you want to work with me and my team to do this, click the button below, fill out the application, and book an interview to talk to me and my team, and we will get in touch. I'll see you guys soon.